In this video, we are going to learn how we can create patterns using attractors. Let's start by creating a solid square. I will use rectangle command and connect the same number slider for X and Y inputs. Then I'm connecting the output to a graph. Now let's use cut panels command to divide this form into grids. If I deconstruct this graph, I can take each single surface out. Then I can take the center points of each grid by using the command area. I can use these center points as a base to scale each of these divided surfaces. Let's take scale a new command and connect our geometries to their own center points. So let's preview of all the script except scale command. This was the first thing that I wanted to show. We can always play with the scale dimension here. Let's copy and paste the entire script. If I use list item command, I can take one of these center points as attractor. Do not forget to right-click and flatten the first list. Then we can use a number slider to select another point in this group. Now I will use surface closest point command and take the listed point as an input. And as a source input, I'm using the edges only grab command. Now we are achieving the closest edges to the selected points, and to see the distance of them clearly, we can use a panel. Let's flatten the distance to individually see the distances. Now this will be the key to our parameter. I'm now using remap numbers command, and let's link the distance as an input. To be able to play with the parameters, I'm using construct domain command as we learned it in the previous sections. Getting the number slider from 0 to 1 will help us create a range. If we take this as an input to our script, we can understand the range we achieve by using the panel. Now let's copy the domains we have and change the end of the domains. Always check the change in the panel. Now let's bring back the scale and new command. Take our surfaces and their centers as a resource and flatten each point to individually parametrize them. Finally, we can connect the remapped range to our scale factor as flattened. Again, let's preview of everything else but scale command. Here we are ready to play with the listed item or domain to scale the geometries. On the other hand, I can use these geometries to trim the first square we created. Let's use solid difference command for this. So this is the result. In a script like this, would help you moderate a perforated facade sample, for example. So let's copy only the solid square to start off another way to use attractors. I will deconstruct this graph first and use join curves command to take out the edges as one closed line. I'm using populate geometry command to connect it to our graph to randomly select some points on it. Let's have a control over the number of the points we are using. I will use a number slider for this. So let's take the curve closest point command to select the nearest points to the edge of the shape. If I connect the populate geometry output, it will give me the same number of randomly placed points at the edge. Let's utilize remap numbers command again. Take the distance as an input to it. Now I will use bounce command to take these numbers as a list of sources. Here again we can use construct domain. But now, to start from a larger number, take again the panel and connect it to the remapped output while flattening. So we now have our base parameter. Now, create the geometry you prefer. I'm using circles here. The points taken from populate geometry will be the centers of the circles. Let's create a radius, and in this case I type 3. Now it's time to scale them based on our script. So the geometries are the circles we just created. The centers, as I mentioned, are coming from populate geometry part. Finally, our scale factors are remapped numbers. Let's reduce the domain start to understand the parameter better. Let's preview everything off and use breadth to make the solid circles noticeable. We can now play with the domain range as well as the number of the points we base. Let's take the opposite of the parameters. We can do it by switching the domain start and end. So here we go. We have now the edges of the square base, with the smallest circles that are gradually getting larger through the center of the square. Thank you. That was it for this section.